Hey y'all, it's Morris. I'm working on my Texas Goen project. I started with photographs that I made, if you've been watching this, over like 35 years ago, of disappearing Texas towns and traditions. Started doing this collage work a little bit over a month ago after I had to have shoulder surgery and can't do much of anything else. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I would be bored out of my mind if I didn't have something going on. So I'm going to switch around and kind of show you the beginning processes of how I do the collage work. So first of all, okay, we're back, me and technology. First of all, I take a couple of pieces of watercolor paper. These I've torn the edge on because I want to make them a little more ragged. One like this is almost a finished product, has a little more smooth edge. I kind of decide before I start which image I want to go on that paper and whether the kind of look it wants. So this is my starting container, and I just put the paper in there. I save old coffee that we don't drink in the morning or afternoon, and that kind of starts the process. I just put it on there. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. One of the things I really like about these collage pieces is they're all absolutely different. There's no way, even if you tried to make them the same, you couldn't, because the coffee and the paper and the timing and the drying always just give you a little bit different look. So I really like that part. I'm gonna let these set and marinate for a while. It usually takes a good couple hours to get a first coat, and then I dry that first coat down and then do a second coat, third or fourth coat when needed, and then I come in and paint on top of that, either with spray paints or acrylics, again, just depending on the look I'm going for. So this is one, like I said, it's almost finished for a piece I'm working on now. And then this is another piece. This one's a little different than most of them. It's mainly silver, and it's for a picture of an old abandoned bank in the little ghost town of Bradshaw, Texas. So what I'm gonna do is I'll put the picture on there, and I've ordered 5 mercury dimes and to use in there. So I wanted to kind of keep that silver look on this one, a little more as to the brown, which I have on most of my pieces for the age. But when I get to working on this Bradshaw one, I'll do a video on that to kind of just walk through that whole one to show you. But I just kind of wanted to show you a difference in, this is the way the project starts as far as getting a background going. So that's it. And as you can see, my workspace is extremely messy. These 2 pieces of paper from the watercolor paper were in here, kind of been marinating for a little bit, and I move them over and on this metal kind of workstation I built out of some old shelving to let them dry and to let it kind of fade out. I've got a really big ceiling fan going on high, and then I put them in the sun to kind of expedite the process to try to get them to dry. So this piece is drying down the way I want. This one doesn't have quite enough, so I just stuck my fingers in the solution there. I'm just gonna add a little more of more of the heavier stuff to kind of let it darken up a little more. So I just come in and get some of the edges where this is kind of dried out, some of the old coffee grounds that are still on there, and just. So these guys are drying real slowly today. It's a little bit colder day here in old San Antonio, so I'm gonna do something I haven't done before just to try to expedite the process and just put a little heater on them and see what we end up with. Don't know how it's gonna look, but we'll find out. Hopefully it'll look cool. So usually in the mornings after we've had our coffee, whatever remnants are left, I use those, and then I'll usually take a just a little bit more water and make just like another cup of the leftover grounds, and then pour that into the mixture just to have a little bit more liquid. You never get the same intensity twice, which is cool, but the only downside of that is that you really bite. Different couple hours now. It's been fried kind of with the first coat. So now they're going to go back in their second coat, and each time you do this, it gets darker and darker and darker. So you can, oh, got some leaves in there. You can end up making it as light or as dark as you want. So that's second round on that one, and second round on this one. After the first round, I just put it in and get it wet, not super wet, because it just takes longer to dry, but you get enough to get the color in, and that's what I'm looking for, is to just get those rich, deep, dark colors. So that's round 2, and we'll let this dry for a little while, and we'll come back and do it again. Okay, so this is after 3 rounds of coffee dyeing and drying, and then the next step is to put some black on there. I'm just gonna put my backyard and that's why there's the allergies. If you've been watching any of our other videos, I've sounded like this. But started this project. For you guys who don't know, I started this of my favorite channel. Then I take some acrylic spray paint and I just like give it some wisp on the edges around. Basically 90% of the background is covered with the photograph and the other pieces of the collage part, so you really don't see a whole lot of that. But I like to get that contrast, and I like to wet the paper first because it gives it, too much there. And then I come in and just kind of create these weird little lines, but go back over it, just let it be. I don't try to really fix mistakes too much. Let it happen, and that's that way, and whatever you get, the other one. Paint on there. Let's make it kind of dried up. So I like to just put maybe a couple little drops here and there. And what this does, I let this part dry slower, and the black little pieces, here if you can zoom in, they kind of just expand out and make these little circles, which are kind of cool. I'm going to help it along a little bit there. Right here. Right out. I like the edges to be darker on everything. Do the same thing on here. Just a little, and it's just totally randomized. There's no, like, really method or system to it. Well, even if I didn't want to, each piece is unique. There's no way you can get the same look twice. But, so when I do stumble across something that I like, I try to remember what it is I did so I can repeat it. I'm getting a little too much dark right there, and taking a little too much white off, so I'm going to come back. Arm thing kind of makes it hard. I'm going to come back and spray a little bit so I have total white spots. Alright, and then with these, I don't want them to dry too fast. I want them to dry slower. So I leave these outside. I try to kind of get them flat. Obviously, I do the painting outside because I don't want to make a huge mess of the house. And this is kind of the final step before I start putting the photos and putting the actual collage work pieces on there. I'll let these dry. These will take a couple hours to really get good and dry. Then I'll come back and look at them. I'll make any little tweaks that I feel like I want to give it kind of that raw, organic feeling. Sometimes you have to mess with it a little bit more to get what you want in that final look. But again, I like the randomized feel of it just being aged. So that's it. Let these dry, and then we'll see where they're at, and then we'll go from there on the next part, which will be I'll start with laying down the photograph that I'm going to use for each one, kind of find the placement on the page and orientation of what area looks better, and then I'll start cutting my pieces of collage material and putting those down and kind of just look at it for a while and make sure I like it. And sometimes I hit it right in the beginning. I get what I like and I want right away. Sometimes I just have to leave it overnight or a day or two because it's just not clicking, and I don't want to force these until it really feels right. I don't glue anything down because I want to keep it I want it as obviously as nice as I can make them. So this is it. This is the way you create the backgrounds. Thanks, and tune back into our channel. Texas Gone, and we'll be showing more videos as we go on this particular collage project, as well as the overall photo project that I've been working on now for like 35 years. So I'm finally able to do something with these pictures that I've wanted to for a long time, and I guess getting the shoulder surgery done was maybe a blessing in disguise because it gave me time to actually work on something like this, put the thought into it. And I've got some really good friends who are helping me with the social media end of this, because that's not my area of expertise at all. You've probably seen them in earlier videos. If not, you'll see them in upcoming videos, because they are really just pushing me along, because this is uncharted water for me to try to get this work out here, get it seen, with the eventual goal of producing a coffee table book of all my pictures of the project Texas Gone, which is accumulation of work from small town and rural way of life, the buildings, the churches, the houses, the stores that are vacant and falling down. Some are already gone. The old cemeteries of a way of Texas life that's just, really disappearing. Everything's become just so much more urbanized, and there's not really a way to make a living in these small towns because of the big box stores that moved in really in the 80s and started closing down all the mom and pop local shops. They just couldn't make it, and then it was just a domino effect after that the barbershops closed, the pharmacy closed, eventually the bank goes, and just from what I can tell looking around, the churches were usually the last places to go. That was not only people's worship center, it was their place for their social activity, and they held on to those as long as you can. So a lot of the small kind of ghost towns that we've been to, the churches are the most intact because they were like the last places to really be left vacant, as these towns just died off the map forever, unfortunately. And I'm trying to do what I can to record what is left and document that lifestyle, and hopefully in a way that I consider artful. Hopefully you guys do too, and will enjoy and support the work. Any money that I make off this, I'm not really doing this to try to make money for me. I'm trying to do it to make money for the project. If I'm making any money for myself, that's great, but that's not what I'm doing. I'm just doing it for the love of Texas and wanting to preserve this for not only myself and my kids, but for future generations of Texans, so they can see their history and where they come from. So thanks. Check back with us soon.